Hello, PHCC. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 16 of PHCC Rocks, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening all over America related to the National Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors Association. I'm your host, Joel Long, and we are coming to you today from Gastonia, North Carolina, and really excited today to have more conversations about what's happening with PHCC in our local chapters and our state chapters and other parts of PHCC that really all over the country that makes PHCC rock. Today, we are extremely fortunate to have the Executive Director of Illinois, Beverly Potts. What's up, Beverly?
Hi.
And with her, Tammy Rich-Stimson, who is currently a director on their board. But Tammy, we probably just need to talk about all the positions you've held. Hey, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. And what city are you in from Illinois? Where are you calling us?
Well, we're in a small little town called Deer Creek, Illinois, and its population is 700.
Okay. So what's the closest Illinois metropolis?
Well, we sit halfway in between Chicago and St. Louis.
Okay, we've heard of those. That's pretty good. So,
yeah.
But okay, Deer Creek.
Yep.
That's awesome. See, if anywhere else in the country they hear something like Deer Creek and they go, okay, Illinois, Indiana, the heartbeat of America. That's good. I love it. 700 people. That's great. And then give us a snapshot of the positions you've held, because we talked about it a little bit before we started, and it got blurry to me. There were so many.
Okay. So we have a local association, and I've held, I've moved through the chairs, and then Illinois, that's how Illinois has their structure, is the secretary, vice president, president, and then the treasurer and president emeritus. So I've done those 5 positions, and I've been Bev, one of the features that Bev has in Illinois Magazine is the President Thoughts right on the inside page. So I've been a ghost support writer for both my brother and my husband.
That's great. So as usual, you have to straighten them out. There you go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that goes on. Trust me. I thank God for Charlotte Parham at National. All these articles that I write, I write all the details, and there's no punctuation corrections that have to take place. That's for sure. Well, good. And then what else? Have you done anything else? That's all.
I've been the first Illinois female president, and just pretty much that's it.
I think you're being pretty humble about that. When was that? How many years ago was that?
2012. Was that my year, Bev? Is that too old? Actually, if you let me turn around just a second.
She has a plaque.
She's going to look at the plaque. That's the best.
And she is being humble.
Yeah.
She's on various committees with the state, with the Bloomington Normal local. I know she served on national committees. Somebody's always calling on Tammy to serve in another capacity with PHCC on all 3 levels. So she's greatly involved.
It's interesting. It's normally somebody pretty humble, isn't it, Bev? That really just drives and gets behind the scenes. I like the ghostwriter thing. That's exactly right. Because I can see Brian, your brother, coming to you going, okay, I need you to straighten this out or help me. Yeah, that's really good to hear. And also, if you don't mind, almost all the people I've talked to didn't start off thinking I'm going to get involved in PHCC. And how did you fall into that?
Well, I do come from a little bit different avenue. I would say I didn't think I would fall into a family business. I do work in a family business. Family business is just starting its 55th year. And so we have some just a little bit different or unique situation. I did work, I went my career route and figured out that the family business was what I was going to try. So I'm 2nd generation, and my father gives great accolades to PHCC for helping him build his business. And so it really has always been instilled in us. So My father has been an Illinois president, my brother, my husband, myself. And so it's really kind of been a family, I guess PHCC is kind of our second family business, so to speak.
They're a little humble about GA Rich too, right? About the business.
Right.
Look up, and I know she probably wouldn't get into all of it, but I know plumbing and a really heavy site. I mean, just some really big stuff. If you don't mind, give us a 2-minute about that too, because when people know what you guys do, a lot of jaws are dropped with what you guys do.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And actually so we're kind of working on the third generation as well. So I'm just going to spin that in just for a second. And our job sites are impressive. And I have a nephew, which would be Brian's oldest. He's actually working in the field. And but my two are 19 and 21. And I know as a girl, you didn't always see where you fit in the family business. And so I want to really instill that in my daughter and then in my 19-year-old son. So I've been taking them to some of the job sites. We do water and wastewater treatment plants. So we're handling process piping anywhere from 4-inch to mainly 30, 36-inch, but we can go up to 48 and 60. We just had some 60 over. We have a hospital that's building a new cancer center with a proton vault. They want to be a Midwest Mayo's is their goal. And they have a very impressive, and we are putting manholes and pipe in the ground very deep. And it's impressive. It really is. And to really know where your water, when you talk about the plumbing protects the health of the nation, when you go to a water plant and see how your water is processed from the large intake pipe all the way down to the small chemical feed piping, it gives you a different appreciation for the water that comes out of your tap every day.
Yeah, we've lost touch with how lucky we are to have the clean water we have. We really, well, Jordan from Nevada brought that up, Beverly, about all the issues they're having out west with all water supplies. Yeah, we take it for granted. And we actually too take for granted the variety of work that contractors do in PHCC. Not many people do what you guys do in our association. So the benefit and experience you guys have on sharing, I know Brian, and in my experience with Brian, he's shared so much, with other people on how to do things from a building your business standpoint. And I'm sure he's the least important in y'all's company. He's younger and dumber and all that stuff, right? 6 years. 6 years is only in that.
6 years younger. Yep.
Make sure everybody, if you see, Tammy's 6 years older than Brian, not 7. So just make sure that you get that across. So listen, thanks for that. And I think it's one of the things with this podcast is people want to know the individual stories. They really do. Because it's important that we all have these stories about how we got into our business, how we're here, and it's almost never a straight line, and almost nobody says, hey, I'm going to start a plumbing business or I'm going to move into it. And so it's really interesting how people weave in and out to gain knowledge and to build their businesses. So thanks for all that information, and then for the support of Illinois PHCC. And Beverly, I don't want to follow that. So you get to tell us how you got into PHCC and give us some of your background.
Okay, I'm a licensed plumber by profession. I was the third generation in my family business to be a plumber. I went to my first national PHCC convention a few days after I graduated from high school in 1972, and I was hooked right there. I got actively involved with the auxiliary first in the late 70s, and then the association by about 1980 as a contractor member. And things progressed. I was pretty active, not as active as Tammy, but on a lot of committees and so forth. In the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, I started working part-time for the Illinois PHCC to help with some legislative work and things like that. And in 1993, the state of Illinois passed a law that licensed all lobbyists, or registered them, I should say. And the other people doing the lobbyist work and the legislative work at the Illinois PHCC didn't care to get involved with that. So they asked me if I would become the registered lobbyist and start working with that aspect of it. That kind of grew and grew. And in 1997, I went full-time. We closed our business in 1996, which was after 96 years. My grandfather started at 1900. We had grown smaller and smaller. And 1997, I went full-time with the Illinois PHCC and have been there ever since. So
25 years or so?
Yeah, a whole lot. Yes, at least that, Joel. Some days it feels
Pretty
like
good.
55.
Yeah, well.
But I've always, I've always known PHCC and what it could do. My father was a big supporter of it. I know Tammy's dad, Jerry, he started his apprenticeship with my dad in our family business. And so our families kind of have been one big family over the years. And I have the utmost respect for the Riches, and especially Jerry with all his initiatives and insight over the years. He's a fabulous guy. But and I also appreciate what he's instilled on his children of the importance of PHCC and involvement. That's been so helpful to us at the Illinois PHCC. And we have other 2, 3, 4 generation families in the Illinois PHCC as well. So seems to be typical in our industry, a lot of generational businesses.
Yeah, it really does. All over the country, it's that way. And, what I've seen, you hear, I'm a third generation, and, when you talk to business people, they talk that the third generation is the one that's going to mess it up. And my brother and I are working really hard to do that, but I don't think it's that case in our businesses. I think and for the most part, I think that's a lot of times other businesses, because there's such a love and admiration for the other generations and how hard how dedicated the field people are in our work, and you have to be in the industry. And so it's interesting across the country, the conversations and how respectful each generation is back and forth together. So I love that and Bev, that's why people love to hear it, is that history and how close you guys are. Anything else you want to add on that?
Not that I can think of at the moment.
Okay. Give us, we're the oldest trade association in the country, national, PHCC is. Tell us some history of PHCC Illinois if you can, and maybe how you see the association currently, the number of people, those kind of things, members. What do you think?
The Illinois PHCC was founded in 1893, so that'd be 10 years after the National Association. But our Chicago chapter actually started at the same time as the National Association. And in fact, I believe the first National Association president was Andrew Young from Chicago. So 1893 is when the Illinois PHCC started. We don't have a lot of history of those early years, but our board in 1916 decided to start the Illinois Master Plumber magazine, which still is in existence. It's a monthly publication. And each year, the 12 months of issues are bound into a book, and that started in 1916. And that history is in our office in Springfield. And it's interesting to see some of the same issues. Occasionally, I have to pull some things from research, but the issues were the same in 1916 as a lot of the issues that we're dealing with right now. Very fascinating. Things to do with workforce and material and standardizations and that type of thing. So yeah, we're not nearly as big as we used to be, like every organization. I mean, in the early 1900s or even in the 30s and 40s, you saw your membership was in the thousands. Now we're like everybody else. We're dealing with hundreds. In fact, our membership is right around 100 contractor members right now, and 44 associates, and I believe 22 inspector members is what we have. We're very blessed to have those, and we have some very active members. But the association has stayed strong over the years, and I think a lot of it, as you go back through our history, has been our activity in the legislative and regulatory arenas, and that's still one of our.
Uh-oh, we lost you for a minute. Uh-oh, bad connection.
Yeah, hopefully she'll resume. That's one one drawback of living in a town of 700, not always the
because
best. Oh, there she is. Bev,
All
we had
right.
lost you for a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's probably not your fault. Good grief. We filled in a couple lies, Bev. Don't worry about it. No big deal.
Yeah, my internet pops in and out here, so sorry.
It is. We'll blur that in with like some kind of pictures of all of us at the beach in bikinis or something. So it'll be fine. You were talking about, yeah, 'cause so the legislative work, you're talking about how important that was. I think that is one of the main, I think, connection points between the states and the National Association is how we help each other with that and really keep each other informed of what's going on state by state so that you can look out for things that may be coming in your state. So so you guys forever have focused on that, I'm sure.
Yes, we have, and on the, plumbing license law and code and those type of things. But yes, it's very interesting and helpful. And my counterparts in the AEC, like you say, we work together. We share information on what's happening in other states, and then through the national legislative and regulatory folks, government affairs. Just like now, the gas bans that we're seeing happening in the East Coast and in California, and we know that will come here. So we have a little bit of a heads up with what our counterparts are doing to try and hopefully stay a little bit ahead of that issue. So, and then it's interesting to see what other states are happening with licensing. There again, we're seeing some states fighting to keep their license or not have it lessened, and that's one of our things that we fight very hard for. But we see that there's attempts coming that way because of the workforce shortage.
Sure. You're trying to make it easy to get businesses started or more people. And we see that happening. And it's really a lot of times we think the Republicans are going to be state by state in favor of, a lot of what we do. But in a lot of states, it's the Republicans wanting to make it easier. They view it less government part, and that really hurts us when on that front, because we just, it's not a good fit for the safety of our workers and for the community. It's a terrible thing for our communities to really attack some of the way we do business and protect ourselves, and so protect the community.
It is. That would be a huge detriment to the public health and safety, but also from the contractor's aspect, you don't want somebody sent to you with a license that isn't as trained as they are right now. So you don't want to see that apprenticeship reduced to 2 or 3 years from the current 4 that it is now, 4 to 5. So yeah, it would just put unqualified people on the street and endanger the public.
Well, and I think it's like a lot of things, the extreme views in anything cause trouble. The extreme view that no government, the people that say we want less government to the point that we have almost no government, that's disastrous. And then the other side of it, where we have so much government that we can't operate or regulation or, things that really make it impossible for consumers to win in our businesses. So somewhere in the middle. And I like the republic status that we have in the country, state by state, but also in our association, where, we test things state by state and find out what's working in one state. You guys steal part of it from a state that works for Illinois. And then maybe you don't do something that somebody in North Carolina is messing up or whatever, and it makes us all better and we learn from each other. And I think that's what I'm seeing with the what's happening with fuel choice. We're really trying to approach it that we want consumers to have fuel choice. And to me, that's the best format for everyone. The more choices you have, if somebody wants to put solar in, great. But they need to have choices and not get boxed in. If somebody wants to have all electric, great, but boy, you need to have those choices so that, because that makes a lot better fit for our consumers from a competitive standpoint, but also technology. I think it drives technology so much better when you have those choices fighting it out some. It really seems to work better. Are y'all seeing anything in Illinois with fuel choice or gas bans or anything like that?
We're seeing a little bit of rumblings. There was some legislation that was tossed around that didn't go anywhere, but we're afraid that it's coming with all the electric situation and the increases in costs and so forth. we feel that it's coming, but that's why we're trying to keep a thumb on it. And so if new legislation is introduced next January, we'll be somewhat prepared to deal with some of that, but not an actual legislation like we've seen in New York and Pennsylvania and those areas.
Okay. We'll keep you updated. Please keep us updated if there is anything. Anything, Tammy, on that side, on the legislative or regulatory side, you want to add? Or
No, really, Bev's our expert. I do sit on our legislative committee, but I did miss last Friday's meeting. So Bev has been in this arena and is top notch on fighting Springfield. Illinois is a tough state, and it's good that we have individuals like Bev fighting on our behalf every day, really.
well, let's go ahead and talk about that. You guys, what's your split, Bev, if you could, on union versus non-union in PHCC? Do you know?
I would say we're probably 95% union and maybe up to 5% that are open shop.
Open shop in PHCC. So see, just that is so different in how we deal with each other across the country with state by state. So you have different problems. What, so I would have thought it would have been a little bit less than that, maybe 80-20. So tell Dave Frame, we're going to work on that next year. But the thing I've enjoyed getting to know, especially say a Dave Frame out of Indiana, who's, the incoming president, is, we keep, and I don't think it's as bad as it used to be, but we've always heard this thing about union, non-union and the problem, but we have so much more in common about what we're trying to accomplish for the industry instead of what is problematic. And so we're really focused on that from the apprenticeship standpoint and from the ready legislative and regulatory side too. So how do you guys see, PHCC helping with some of that, or maybe some other things along that line? I know the UAC, Dave is really working hard, and I think Brian's working with him too, some on the UAC, trying to get that really moving some.
Right. Brian is our UAC chair right now, advisory committee chair, and doing a good job with that. We've always looked at this association as we are out for the industry. That is what we do, is the industry. And I have to refer back to Tammy's father, Jerry, again. We were at a board meeting probably 25, 30 years ago, and this discussion came up between union and non-union. And we had one man that almost got violent because we had a few non-union members. And Jerry Rich stood up and said, this association is about improving and protecting the industry, not how you run your business and which side you go to.
Perfect.
And Jerry Rich is one of those gentlemen that doesn't say much, but when he speaks, you better listen, because he speaks the truth and has a lot of, heart in what he does and says. And everybody listened to him, and that ended the discussion. And I haven't really heard that discussion again for a couple decades now. So, there's always a little animosity between groups, but I think that's where the enhanced service groups are good with PHCC. Our union contractors have that avenue through the hybrid big in UAC. We've got other open shop in CCA and in QSC both. I mean, you have both union and non-union. They're together for their purpose. We have different needs, and that's why you have the different enhanced service groups.
And it works well. Other places, Bev, where you especially think that you guys in national have been successful together over the years?
Oh, I think
That was,
in a lot of things. I mean, especially in the government relations, but in membership promotion.
yeah.
And this whole three-tiered federation provides a networking that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, the network that all of us have across the country to reach out for information and help is so valuable. And I think that's one thing that we've promoted over the years. And I think national has too, in providing opportunities, and even more so now with some of the communication things that we do.
Yeah. And I think, I've always thought too, a couple CCA meetings I've been to, where I'll say something and in my part of what I'm supposed to talk about, whatever my business, and I'll say something, and afterwards somebody will come hand me a piece of paper with a note written on it, and they'll have the answer. And now part of me, I go, oh, that made me so mad because it was so easy, but sometimes we get stuck in our own thought process or our own box. And PHCC is really a clearinghouse for best ideas, for best practices. And so that's what I've seen. It's transformed my business and my relationships with people too. It's been really, really good. And Tammy, I'm sure that's how you see overcoming the family business sometimes, right?
Right. Yeah. The education that is provided, I'm just going to take a spin down the education route a second, but the education that we get, whether it's at our state convention or state trade shows, and then at national level is really invaluable. I think one of the things that I'm excited to see rolled out last year in Kansas City, they gave us a taste of the financial boot camp. And I think that when you grow up in a family business, you're in the business, but maybe you just I'm not sure how to say, you just learn things differently. And so sometimes I think you need to get out of this environment. Maybe you're still being treated as I love my father, but I am still his daughter. And so sometimes just getting out of our business, interacting with other people, and getting that education from a peer, whether it's at a CCA event or at a national convention, where you can gain that education that you maybe didn't even know you needed. And so I think the education part is invaluable, but I really want to tag back on Bev's legislative part. I think the legislative part of what happens in Illinois is what really probably is the cherry on top of our association.
Yeah, I do. I think it's understated too. I think most people don't get in the association what's really happening with that is, if we weren't together on those things, and it can be devastating what's happening, if we're not involved. So yeah, I agree with you. And I think the other thing, on your education piece, in a family business, as you were talking, I was thinking about, I don't know about you guys, but my brother and I, he's 3.5 years younger. I would say 4. He would say, anyway, now he would say 6 years younger, but anyway, we tend to focus on getting the work done. We tend to focus on, maybe the people, but customers and all that, and then making money or running it financially successful. So to your point on that boot camp, I think it's really important that, in PHCC, we tend to focus a lot on technical aspects instead of the other parts of the business, which, and we grew up, we're plumbers. I'm an air conditioning guy. I'm not a business owner. And so it's, I think you're right on that, Tammy, but seeing those different, back to Beverly's point on the, PHCC National is a big umbrella. Your state association's a big umbrella. You've got pieces where contractors need to have connection. And I like to say it that way with the CCA or the QSC or the UAC, or find, really, if you just find one other partner company that does similar things to you, and PHCC's been an avenue to you be successful and have a partner that helps you win. So the education, all this, it's amazing on the website what's there. So yeah, that is a great point. Anything else on those kind of things you guys want to add?
Well, over the years, I've seen a lot of education at conventions and meetings that take place either over a cup of coffee or a beer after the meeting, because of the exchange of information. And like Tammy was saying, when you're in a family business, you have that directive and that mindset. It's good to get out and get other people's perspectives. And I think that's true of the associations and contractors.
No, that's
and
definitely
here in Illinois. We're a big state. we've got 6 local associations throughout the state, and some of our members, when we have an event, have to drive 6 or 7 hours to get to it. I mean, we're a long state, and we have some active groups down in Southern Illinois and a large chapter in Chicago and 2 in between. But that networking between those groups, because sometimes the work at the very bottom of the state is a lot different than the climate and various things you're dealing with at the top part of the state. So they can exchange ideas there. The other good thing with the networking, I get calls quite frequently from either our contractors or contractors in other states that say, look, I do jobs for this franchise or this company, and I can't man this one. Who do you recommend in, Springfield, Illinois, or Decatur, or wherever? And we can provide them a PHCC member that we know that, and give them some names that they can talk to, that we know the type of work that they do. So that's been a huge help to our contractors on both sides of that.
Oh yeah, and the trust that goes along when you do that too. There's such a feeling of trust if you can recommend somebody to help with something like that from the association standpoint. Okay, I was going to talk about positive leadership. When we were in Connect in Kansas City, John Gordon spoke, and I'm just a huge young, but I don't think we need to talk about. I think anybody that's watching this conversation, obviously you guys ooze positive leadership. So I don't know. Do we need to talk about positive leadership? You guys are already doing all of that, aren't you?
Well, we may have positive leadership, but we need more of it.
Okay, there we go.
It's when we talk about the young people in our association, we're talking about anybody under 50 or 55.
Bev, come on, Bev. Now, I used to say that too. My son, my kids are 19 and 21, and I go, I'm 55, and they go, 55? That is old. That's not old, is it, Bev?
But when you look at the same situation at the national level, it's harder and harder. And it's not just us, it's every organization, it's every church, it's everything across the country to get the young people involved. And we keep looking for that hook. What is that hook to get them in? We try technology, we try all different things, and it's just so difficult. I know in some cases it's the other generation ahead doesn't always get out of the way and get them involved, but and that's true in some companies and not in others. But that's one thing I think we really need to work on every level. How do we do that?
Yeah, and I think
we're struggling.
Yeah, are you guys seeing? And I'm gonna say young is 40 and under, but whatever. We can argue about that later. Maybe 25 and under, but I think this is the conversation we have to have everywhere. With the retirement of our technicians and our leaders, we have really got to figure this out. And I know, we'll talk about Connect a little bit coming up. That's really, I've heard this all across the country, and so national. We are having a segment on the Friday on the 7th at Connect for the next generation, and so I'd like to challenge you guys to find 4, 5, 6 under 40 people in your business, contractors, that we can help make a connection, because I believe it's about connecting people together. I think there is a little bit different, Bev, with the generations, my age maybe, and your age and your experience, and where we sought out. Maybe it's because there wasn't the internet. Maybe we had to go find it, or so maybe there's all these different reasons, but the world's going so fast now that we're not personally making personal contacts as much. And we can do everything on Zoom now. But if we can get them in a room together and they see value and they make some connections at the national level, then I believe they'll be better at the state level. I believe if we can get them in a room and enjoy each other's company. And so we're trying to get 75 to 100 people to come that don't normally come. So I'd like to see, and hopefully and I think you guys, I'm sure you guys have 4 or 5 that you see as leaders, but it's harder to get them connected.
That's true, and you're right about the relationships. And years ago, when Illinois had a large convention every year, Tammy and her husband headed up what we called our youth program, part of convention, to try and get the contractors' children and grandchildren in together, create those relationships, that as they grew into the businesses, they would have those relationships. Unfortunately, we no longer have conventions, but I think some of those relationships, and Tammy can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think some of those relationships probably continue with those kids. And hopefully, maybe we can get some of them involved. I know, Tammy's got family, the third generation involved. I think of another that's got a fourth generation involved now up in the Chicago area that was in Tammy's youth program. And so we need to rekindle those relationships and get those kids started through it too. But yeah, it's all about relationships, no matter the age or the locale. That's the answer.
Yes, Tammy, since my kids were small in North Carolina, we have all these events like you guys do but in North Carolina, we have what we call our summer convention. We basically go on vacation to the beach, and we have a couple meetings. We do some fun things. We do some beach Olympics. We build sandcastles together. But we have meetings, and there's vendors there and everything. But my kids now, my oldest is 21, and to this day, I will get a call. We do it in July or August. That both of them will call and go, okay, when are we going to the beach? Because of the relationships, and they love it, but they built personal. And so I think you guys did the same thing, and I hear that across the country. But we've got to reinstill that because it matters, and it's not just fun; it's business and building relationships. And so we got to get back to that. So I'm asking everybody to try to commit to try to do those kind of things. You didn't know I was going to ask you to do something, did you? Yeah, you did. Yeah. Bev knew. She's heard that junk from me about 12 times now. We're going to have Joel Long, master of getting 6 people to come to an event for 75. That's going to be nice. But anyway, it will be okay. So switching gears, anything else?
No, I just wanted to reiterate, with Bev is that I think that is one of our, one of the focuses and challenges is, and it's a mindset. You asked me at the very beginning, how did I end up in PHCC? And it has been instilled in me, as instilled in Bev, it's instilled in your children. But I think more and more each generation is pulled by more and more commitments and the overcommitment that society has right now, whether it's you're the coach of both kids baseball teams or you're running here and there, and it's taken time out, and your family can come to PHCC. I remember one convention, national convention, both national conventions that one was in Florida at Disney World, and national actually had a small youth program. And there was a contractor, my kids, I think then were only 2 and 4, and a contractor grabbed my youngest and put him on his shoulders, and it just makes an impression. But it's hard to instill in the younger contractors that it is important. You can bring your family. We take babysitters with us. We took the kids to Anaheim when national convention was in Anaheim, because there's so much that you need as a young contractor to learn, and you need those relationships, you need that education. But then there's still family time, and you can book extra family time before and after the conferences too. So I really think that needs to be a focus. I know it's a struggle. It's a struggle here in Illinois. We had a full steam ahead, but everything just gets pulling at it. And it's just, what commitment are you willing to make as an individual, and what's important in your life?
I don't want to follow that. I'm putting you on the convention committee. You just don't know it. Well, we missed the boat. I'm sorry. While you were talking, I pulled out to write some notes, but the youth program, the kids at national, babysitters, that's not that hard to pull together. And a guy that's 35 who's got a 6-year-old and is leaving his wife at home, but he's going to Charlotte or Kansas City, it's a lot more attractive for her if you take her with you, and then it builds partnerships with other families that are going through the same thing. Tammy, I swear. This is when Mark and Grayo and the PHCC staff gets terrified that I'm running my mouth. Yeah, we're going to do this. I'm not committing to that, but that is how we get better, Tammy. It's such a moving target in everything we're trying to accomplish that connecting that's really good. The code you mentioned coming out of, full steam ahead. And when you said that, I thought about COVID and, I saw on your website some of the COVID resources, and I'm assuming, Bev, a lot of those came from National with what National did with the outreach and everything. Are you guys out of COVID? Are you feeling, back to sort of normal? Where do you think you are?
We're not out of it by any means. And the area where Tammy and I live is actually in high community levels right now. We're in the red. But I think most things are pretty much back to normal. CDC is recommending masks again, but we're seeing restaurants full, stores full. I think people are back to doing things. You don't see all the events canceled. But, caution still needs to be taken. For not just COVID, for anything. We got monkeypox, what else? Murder hornets, there's always something. But yeah, the National provided us with a lot of really good material that we could link to our website that was so important, especially early on in COVID. And the tool cleaning videos from Milwaukee Tool that we use, the things from National, the state of Illinois put out some major publications. The Illinois Department of Public Health did on reopening buildings after they'd been shut down. All that type of thing we put on our website for our members to use. It's it's important to keep vigilant about this, and now especially with more being done in the wastewater portion of it, how they're discovering COVID in certain areas by testing the wastewater, and not just COVID, but other things eventually is what they're hoping to do with this research. So that's all important stuff we need to know about too.
Yeah. So I know, the staff, I was amazed at how quick Chuck and Mark and the rest of the staff kept the data moving on the changes. If you guys remember, it would seem like it was every day the data and the information was changing. I think it's one of the best benefits that PHCC members got all over the country from National. And I know I've yet to find anybody that said we didn't do enough, but on that front. But Bev, who's your favorite staff person at PHCC National?
Oh, let's see. Alicia McGrady, Cindy Sheridan.
Oh, she's going to name them all.
God. The ones that have been there a little bit longer, maybe. Okay. That I know well.
All right. Anyway, there you go. Who's your current favorite president of PHCC National?
I think his name's Joel somebody.
Current favorite. Okay. Just checking. Tell us something.
I just had a trauma yesterday. I've been using my Joel Long for President PHCC pen, and I ran out of ink yesterday. He's only halfway through his term, and I'm out of ink.
2.5 years. That's a useless pen. Those are the best pens in the history of the world.
They are. They are awesome.
So send Bev a pen. Okay, perfect. I do like one other thing. Well, not one other thing. Other things. Tell us something. This is something I've really enjoyed. Tell us something about you that we don't know.
Go, Tammy.
Oh, me. Okay.
So
is it something that
doesn't matter,
like the PHCC community doesn't know, or is it something that nobody does?
It doesn't matter.
That was a really hard one when I was thinking about it. Maybe the PHCC community doesn't know. My husband and I did competitive country dancing for
square dancing.
No, it was more in the two-step waltz line dancing realm of things.
Okay. How long ago was that? Competitive?
Yeah, we traveled to Tulsa. We never got down your way.
We do square dancing in North Carolina. We probably don't.
Okay, well, no wonder I never made it there. So you guys must not have ever hosted any competitions, but I did make it to Charlotte, but the race got rained out. So I haven't seen a race there at Charlotte.
There's a
but-
race, I think, before and after. I mean, there's races that connect. So you said something about staying, so you need to. The reason this is important, Tammy, is it's amazing how connected we all are with things that we really don't ever get to talk about because we're talking about business. You brought up dancing. My father, who passed away 3 years ago, would do anything for my mother. I mean, he would just, and I have an uncle who's passed also, but he was a square dance caller, this uncle of mine.
Nice.
And my father hated the even thought, but my mother wanted to do it. So they started traveling all over the place with my aunt and uncle square dancing. And so they came, when I was in college, they came to Raleigh and my mother called me and told me they were going to be there. And I showed up with my girlfriend to watch them square dance. And I thought my father was going to kill me. And I'm taking pics. It was great. I had the best time. But, because we do those things and it really connects us, those little things like that. That's great. I'm glad you told us that. Okay. You going to top that, Bev?
No, I'm not going to top that. I'm not that talented. I don't know. I've been around so long, most everybody I think knows everything about me other than maybe that I'm a railroad and fishing memorabilia collector, antique things. The railroad, basically history from our area, railroad items from central Illinois.
No kidding.
And
How did you, and fishing, antique fishing stuff?
Yeah, that's much to the chagrin of my family.
Like
But my maternal
fly fishing or?
No, just general fishing. I collect old rods and reels and lures. And in my basement, I have a 1920s Johnson outboard motor in the original wood crate that it came in.
See,
So yeah, nothing to use, just to look at. It's always a conversation point when people come over.
well, I have to ask how and why, do you know? Do you even know?
Well, the railroad part was my maternal grandfather worked on the railroad in Peoria.
Okay.
So I had a few things left from him. He died when I was very young, but I had a few things from him, and it just kind of piqued my interest. And our community here in Deer Creek where we live is located where it is and got started because of the railroad coming through here.
Sure.
So
Okay.
I just got collecting with that, and fishing. I grew up with my family going fishing, and I just have always done it. And I get old things interest me, Joel. That's all I can tell you.
Well, I got
I
news
like
for you.
history.
See, there's contractors when they're going to see this and they're going to go, Bev, can I come over to your house and see? And that's what I'm talking about on the connections. I may be wrong, but I think if we'd said, okay, people guess what Bev's going to talk about, I'm sure it wouldn't have been that you collect railroad memorabilia and and fishing stuff in your basement. But I mean, isn't that, I think that's the coolest. That's pretty good, Bev. I like that. So I'll be up there in a couple of weeks. I go fly fishing a lot, and my father and I grew up fishing all the time, and it's just a great way to relax and now tell lies and drink beer and stuff. So it's perfect. Well, that's interesting. How is your whole basement filled up with it?
Not the whole basement. I've tried to control myself some, but yeah, a lot of it's family stuff that I've,
I love that.
And I do have a couple fly fishing rods. I've never done it, but they're collector's ones that I have. So.
Send me a picture.
So
Send me some pictures. Okay, I'm gonna invite I'll show up, knock on your door.
Anytime, Joel.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, send me some pictures of your fly rods. That's awesome. Well, listen, guys, I appreciate you sharing that. The other question that I think, not that we're old, but we're experienced, is if you could go back to your 20-year-old self to give some advice, what advice would you give to people, to yourself?
I would give the same advice that I'm currently giving to my children, which is save for retirement. So just really talking to them about,
We do mess that up, don't we, Tammy? We do mess that up, don't we?
Yeah, just start putting it away. And yeah, I think it's a tough conversation, and it's a tough thing to think about when you're 21 years old. But you start when you're 21 years old. I've done the Dave Ramsey course
Oh, have you?
twice.
Oh, yeah.
And I just really want to try to have my kids make a few better decisions than I did. So that's, I just spoke with a recent graduate of a friend, a very close family friend, and I had her dad come and tell me, I think she got more out of you talking to her because she'll never listen to us. And I was talking to her, starting her new job and encouraging her and just talking about how to go about really getting her and her brand new husband off on the right foot for their future.
Well, I'm glad you took it there too, Tammy, because that is a lot of what we do, isn't it? Contractors in our businesses, our employees, our coworkers and friends, we do use these experiences. I hear that all the time across the country, that we're helping get different perspectives to different people and try to help them get ahead of where we are. I mean, I hear that all the time. That's really good stuff. Dave Ramsey's pretty interesting, isn't he?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. We could all start earlier. That's for sure. All right, Bev.
That was going to be mine as well. I wished I'd known at a younger age and planned better for the future. And that way, maybe I would be out fishing and hunting for railroad memorabilia instead of sitting in the state capitol.
Okay. I thought she was going to say, instead of being on this stupid podcast. Okay.
No.
But yeah, but it's hindsight's 2020, guys.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great advice. Anything else you guys want to add on that? I know their favorite dessert was on here. We got to touch that one real quick.
Well, I like a good cake. So any, wedding cake, good layered birthday cakes. So I'm kind of I love pie. I struggled on that question because I really do like a lot. I will say that my downfall is sweets, it's not chips, it's the sweet side. So chocolate ice cream and hitting Dairy Queen. Yep.
I told somebody earlier that I was going to, instead of telling you what my favorite was, I was going to tell you I don't like key lime pie, and then the rest of it is open. All right, Bev, what do you got?
I'm with you on the key lime pie. Somebody else can have my share of that.
Waste of calories.
I'm like Tammy. Yeah. I like, that's the main thing about going to a wedding is you get cake. So, I'm a vanilla kind of a plain person. I like white cake with vanilla frosting. So wedding cake, birthday cake is probably my favorite. There's not too many cookies I've met that I didn't like. Homemade cookies.
You and I haven't spent enough time together. Did you just say the best part about going to a wedding is the cake?
Yeah.
Okay.
You bet.
I've been married.
No cake,
actually,
if there's no cake, I don't go.
We're recording this on June 8th, which is my 31st wedding anniversary. And my wife would agree with you, Bev. That's great. Okay. So, you guys have covered a lot. We've been on here a little bit, almost an hour. You guys especially, and I've been asking this a couple times with different people. What would you challenge? And this was not on our list, so sorry if you, but I think you'll probably answer it. What would you challenge National to do better, and maybe your state association to do better going forward? What do we need to do better?
On the national level, I know these are things we've talked about, and it's the state level too, and we talked a little bit about it yesterday with AEC, is logo recognition to the consumers. So they look at us, they see what that is. People know what the NECA logo is, but they don't always recognize the PHCC. And I think a lot of that is encouraging our members to use it more in advertising, on their trucks, whatever, so people start to identify with that. And as far as national, you've got a lot of good information on your website, but I will have to say it's not that easy to navigate at times. And
it's a big website. Yeah. It really is.
Yeah, it is. And I know national staff struggles with that and tries to improve it as they can.
I've kind of twisted that lately, Bev, where I'm saying, okay, if once a week you'll go spend 20 minutes on the website, because even as much as I've been on there, I struggle with it if I'm not on there a lot. But once I get on there a lot, and it's just really maybe even 15, 20 minutes a week where I'm looking for something specific. And the next thing you know, I know a lot, but I struggle with that, on a lot of things, a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Those are good. Those are really good. Tammy, you got anything?
No, I think Beverly touched on that. So I do go to the website. I know one of the things we need to tackle, and this might just be an internal issue, is multiple people that need to go log into it. I'm the member, and so I think that in a family business is sometimes challenging. That I'm the one with the login, and so others, and that, like I said, that could be just our internal hurdle.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up because, as long as I've been involved on the national level, our company has just signed up almost all of our leadership people. I think we signed up 100 people to be able to have access to the national website, and it doesn't cost any extra. And it wasn't, when we did it, actually, we had to call the staff and get some help on doing it because it's not that easy. So we're working on making that easy. But, you're right. As a company, if you're the member, you can sign up all your people.
Okay.
So, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's something we really haven't talked about, I don't think, in these podcasts. So, and that we do want to, this year in the strategic plan, one of the things we're doing is trying to expand internal company connections with that, because that is a big piece we're missing. So I'm really glad you brought that up. That's correct.
Okay.
So guys, we're getting close to the end. I think I do like to do something. Do you guys read a lot? I know Bev does.
I'm more into Audible.
Audible. Oh, okay.
So I'm listening to my books.
What do you have any book recommendations or anything you've listened to lately?
So the last thing, I don't do a lot of, just books for relaxation.
Oh, okay.
It's more for information. And so the last one that I did was Traction. It's what we've been kind of focused on around here. And so more business improvement type books tends to be the avenue that I head down.
We use Traction also. Tammy, have you guys implemented that?
We've been working on it, so we'll welcome any tips you have. We'll have to follow up with you.
Yeah, well, I've had some other CCA people. It is amazing. We love it because being an old company, we're really bad about letting the daily fires get into the way of strategic goals. And so,
Yep.
Being able to set up a weekly to-do meeting to keep you focused on driving towards, quarterly goals has really helped our leadership group stay focused. Now we still almost have to reset every meeting. It's like, okay, we've had this fire, let's put it out and go on. But it really is interesting how we get stuck on that. So that is great to hear. That's anybody that doesn't know it. The Traction book is a great book to be able to help accomplish some of that, improving your business. Bev, you got anything?
No, I primarily read trade publications and code books and fun things like that. I've never been a recreational reader until just recently. I've gotten involved with a book club with my church. So I've been reading through that. So the Christian books? Well, yes and no. Some of them are more classics, and then comparing that how they relate to religion or could. And so it's been an interesting study.
Oh, I bet so. How many people are in your book club?
There's about a half a dozen is all.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But it leads to some good conversation and so forth. I'm finding now as I've aged and my legs don't work anymore, I can't do all the physical projects that I used to like to do around my home and the community. And so I'm getting into reading a little bit more.
Part of my history, we're Methodist. We go to our Methodist church, and there's a Sunday school teacher that has my connection with my church now is my Sunday school class, but it's really one guy that leads it, and we do book studies through that all the time, and it's amazing how that helps me stay grounded with all the craziness, so I thought that was interesting, Bev, that you had that, because it does take that to stay grounded. I mean, I think it's tough in today's world, what we were talking about earlier, how fast everything moves. The book I've got that I was going to, just mention, and I like quick books too, in a lot of cases, if I'm doing it. And The How of Wow by John Murphy. And it's really just another, and I do a lot with customer service and how to improve how we deal with customers. And I think it's a good quick read that really helps you stay focused on providing that service. Because in today's world, we're going so fast. I know we fail a lot at communicating, and we think we are communicating, but the customers don't really hear what we think they hear, or we don't project what we think we're projecting to them. We're really talking more than listening a lot, especially me, but it's good. So guys, listen, I really, thanks for those, the book recommendations and thoughts on that. Any last comments or any thoughts or anything we missed? I
think it's very impressive, the podcast that you have going. I think it's unique and just brings everyone from around the United States together to listen to what the others, and you're not reading about it. You can click on the podcast, or I do read, but I think it's just hearing other people's perspectives, because what's going on in Illinois is not necessarily going on in North Carolina, but then again, a lot of our conflicts are the same, and I just think it just helps personalize everybody. Oh yeah, you see them when you're crossing paths at Connect, and you can smile and say hello. I heard you on Joel's podcast. So I applaud you for the initiative that you've got going. I think it's really unique, and I love it. Well,
thank you so much. I wanted to do something different. I've talked about it a little bit at this point. I really wanted to do something different, and I would love, my brother does this in our community already, so I'd love to say it was my idea, but it wasn't. But something else, I think, you guys are important. I think you're more important. We're more important as contractors to our communities than we realize, and that's one of the things that's kind of become I don't talk about it. It's kind of become a crawl with me and my side where, when I talk to everybody that runs businesses, I'm pretty sure, Rich, your company's pretty important in your community, isn't it? Don't you? How many employees do you guys have?
We have about 100.
And what Bev does in the state of Illinois to improve the industry and to get contractors to have a better life, not just businesses. It's not, we like to talk about our businesses all the time, but it's really about we're making a pathway for our future and for the community, and we're improving it. And so I just think it's really important that the word gets out in a little bit different format. So listen, thanks for that. But and it's really been inspiring. I think sometimes I'm looking around going, my God, I got a lot to do. We got a lot to improve on in our business, but that's what PHCC is about too. Think about it. There's something every day we can improve, and by talking to each other and listening, we really have a pathway through PHCC and our partners and our friends to be able to do that. So yeah, thank you so much, but it's been fun for me. It definitely has. It gets me out of work. My brother may fire me, but hey, this has been awesome. And Bev, you got anything to wrap up with?
No, just thank you for this opportunity and for creating this, because as we said earlier, it's all about the relationships and the networking, and you've just created another avenue.
Yeah, it's been fun. So guys, listen, I really want to thank you for the time, especially coming from Illinois and all the great people there, and Bev, Bev, just from everybody in PHCC National and across the country, thanks for all your leadership all these years. There's something really important about stability and that view of history, and especially I know Stephanie Blazek, our exec in North Carolina, when she started, she had Jim Pendergrass, our guy that had been with us a while, but he hadn't been with us 25 years, and so the execs all over the country have made her feel so at home and welcome, and helped her that it's that partnership's massive. And so, and Tammy, you guys are making my business better through CCA. And so I just want to thank you guys for everything you're doing. And what did I challenge y'all to do? Do you remember?
bring 5 or 6 younger
Yes.
people to connect.
Perfect. And see if you guys can come to connect. Make sure, I know Bev, you'll be there, right, Bev?
Made my room reservation this morning.
Perfect. All right. And so Tammy, it would be nice to see you there. I know you probably have to actually run the business, but hopefully we can see you guys there. And guys, listen, just thanks for the time. And so listen, I think we've run out of time, and I'm getting the hook over here from Amy, but just thanks for taking time to listen to our podcast today. And please don't hesitate to contact us at podcast@phccrocks.com. We're always looking for future suggestions for future podcast. And please, I want to thank Tammy and Bev for all the time today, and reach out to them if you have any questions. There's a wealth of knowledge in the state of Illinois that can improve your business. And I know Tammy would take your phone call, and you can track her down pretty easy. But listen, just thanks for all the time today, guys. And PHCC Rocks is produced by Amy Anderson and Elizabeth King with GSM Services, and of course Charlotte Parham of PHCC National. And I'm your host, Joel Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us. And please keep coming back to hear more reasons why PHCC rocks. Good job. We done? Good job, guys. Thanks a lot.